This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
13 Daggers Tattoo Studio is looking for a new tattoo artist. Must be established with a strong portfolio and good work ethic. Stop by today at 13 Daggers across from Patriot Park on Fort Campbell Boulevard. Clarksville's ultimate tattoo studio. Tattoos, touch-ups, and consultations. See the artist's work online at 13daggerstattoo.com and get the custom experience you want with killer ink. Book today and get pricked by a pro. 13 Daggers Tattoo Studio. Rockin' hard on Boulevard.
We love sports.
Joe Louis, the greatest boxer ever lived.
Not only do we love sports, but we love to debate sports.
He was bad in Captain Clay. He bad in Sugar Ray. He bad in that. Who that's you? The new boy has Mike Tyson. Look like a bulldog. He bad at him too. He done whipped Mike Tyson there. He whipped all their ass.
For the best sports analysis in the triad.
What about Rocky Marciano?
In-depth local coverage of your favorite schools and teams.
Let me tell you something wonderful. Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't.
And of course, the best sports debate in the triad.
Beat Joe Louis's ass.
Welcome to Tobacco Road Sports Radio.
Joe Louis was 75 years old when he fought.
You're welcome.
I don't know how old he was, but got it ass whipped.
The Hometown Foundation is excited to bring back the Dream Ride experience, August 26th to the 28th at Connecticut's Farmington Polo Club. Join us in celebrating the accomplishments of our Dream Riders while enjoying live music, a car and motorcycle show, family fun zone, pet adoptions, canine demonstrations, the Fireman's Chili Cook-Off, and much, much more. Get your tickets today.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Frankly Speaking Sports. I'm Larry Frank. I'm your host for tonight, and another great show we have in store for you this evening. Thank you so very, very much for all of you that are joining in on several different platforms. We have people joining us watching us live on Roku TV. That's right. If you folks have a smart TV, go to Roku TV, download Northeast Streaming Sports, and you can watch Frankly Speaking Sports every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, and 6 Pacific. Also, we are on several different Facebook platforms. We want to first of all welcome all the different Tennessee Titans and Nashville Predators, different fan clubs on tonight. Thank you so much tuning in, as well as Carolina Hurricane fans. Thank you so very much. We appreciate it very, very much. We are on Facebook on Northeast Streaming Sports, Facebook on Frankly Speaking Sports. We are also on LinkedIn. We are on YouTube, 2 different YouTube channels, Northeast Streaming Sports and Frankly Speaking Sports. We are on Twitter as well. And then, of course, you get the opportunity also to listen to us on SportsWire Radio. That's right, SportsWire Radio is covering us tonight. And tomorrow, you can re-listen to this show. That's right, re-listen by going to TobaccoRoadSports.com every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 10 p.m. Central Time, and 8 p.m. Pacific. Thank you so very, very much. I want to let everybody know there is a message scrolling on the bottom of the screen. Please read it. Please interact. This is our show, not my show. Have a question, thought, opinion, or even a concern, go ahead, leave it under the comment section, and we will go ahead and put it live, your comment live on the air, and discuss your comment if it is a discussable comment. So thank you very, very much, folks. Please interact. We are about minutes away. You know, we talked earlier and about the Tennessee Titans. We've been talking a lot about the Tennessee Titans, and we're going to continue to talk a lot about the Tennessee Titans as we are getting ready for rookie camps. I believe rookie camps start tomorrow. The times and dates of all the game released tomorrow night at 8 p.m. So lots and lots happening in the NFL and for the Tennessee Titans. And, before the draft started, one of the specific needs that the Tennessee Titans needed was an offensive lineman. You have to get somebody to protect Ryan Tannehill. We've been talking about it since the season ended last year. You can't allow your quarterback to get hit, bumped, beat up, and sacked 47 times and expect this team to prevail, especially when you get to the playoffs. That may be okay in a weak AFC South, but remember, these teams are starting to get better now, including Indianapolis. But it proved again during playoff time when your quarterback is consistently being rushed, mistakes are going to happen, whether it's sacks, fumbles, interceptions, as it was versus the Bengals. We have to do something to protect Tannehill. What did they do during the draft? They got a beast of a tackle. Plays right tackle, plays left tackle. And we're going to be discussing and learning more about him in 5 minutes when Alex Gleitman, Ohio State insider at Buckeyes Scoop, joins us live to discuss Nicholas Petit-Frere, who was a second-team All-American, first-team Big Ten, and he was our round 3 numbers 69 pick for the Tennessee Titans. We're going to be discussing him, but this guy is good. He's very good, guys. Listen to the statistics. I think I have it here. When you look at Nicholas Petit-Frere, he had 20 starts, both at left and right tackle. And this is the stat. If you want to get fired up, Titan fans, you want to get pumped, you want to get aggressive, you want to get loud, this is why. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. He allowed just 36 pressures, 36, and only 3 sacks. One more time. 36 pressures and 3 sacks in his entire college career. What are we basing that on? 1,593 pass blocking reps. That's right. 1,593 passing reps. He's only allowed 3 sacks and 36 pressures. I'll tell you what, the Tennessee Titans are going to be so happy to have this guy, 3rd-round pick in a draft that was just packed with offensive linemen. Of course, most noticeably, Cross and Evan Neal and Ike Ekwonu, who actually just signed with the Carolina Panthers yesterday. So we are going to have that luxury and honor of talking to Alex Gleitman in about 2 to 3 minutes. So we don't want to get into too much before he comes on. But the Tennessee Titans should be glad. Now they got a pass blocker and a rush blocker that they so dearly need. And, when you talk about quarterbacks, and people, been giving Ryan Tannehill crap now ever since that game ended versus the Bengals. But you have the right quarterback. You have the quarterback that's consistently been getting you to the playoffs. Now we got to find out, what do we got to do to help this guy get over the hump in the playoffs? And by adding a guy like Frere, it definitely is a step in the right direction. And, now you got to say for Tannehill, you got to get him maybe one more receiver. I like Burks. You guys heard yesterday we did, a little segment on get to know Treylon Burks. Tonight, like I said, we're going to do it on Nicholas Petit-Frere in a couple of minutes. So we want you to know these guys, and we want you to get to learn a lot about them. But, there are 2 receivers out there that they could go after the Titans. One is very inexpensive. The other, I'm not sure. Everybody's talking about Will Fuller. And it's not a bad choice at a wide receiver if you can pick him up cheap. But he is nothing that's extravagant or something that is, replacing an A.J. Brown by any means. He is a guy that hasn't had I think he's had 800 yards, over 700 yards once in his 6-year career. The biggest season he had, 2020, 8 touchdowns in a season, but he does have a 69% catch rate. The other guy that I would love to see them go after, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers may not have a choice to let them go, hasn't played a lot there, but when he does play, he makes the most of his opportunity. Keep your eyes open, folks. Keep your eyes open for Scotty Miller. Scotty Miller is fast. He has speed. He can go up for a ball. He can outrun people. If they let him go, which they're talking possibly about doing that in Tampa Bay, it would be a steal for the Tennessee Titans to go after that talent and see what they can do with the guy who just happens to be a victim of circumstance when you have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Gronkowski out there. They got Tyler Johnson. They had Antonio Brown. There just wasn't enough room for Scotty Miller to play. So it'll be interesting to see what the Buccaneers do and what they go on doing with Scotty Miller, and see if the Titans, if they really want a good receiver, I'm giving them the vote of confidence to go after this kid, because he could be something very, very special, especially with Treylon Burks and Robert Woods there. And this guy would suit this team just fine with that outside speed. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a quick 15-second station break. And when we come back, we're going to have Ohio State insider Alex Gleitman. We'll be back right after this message.
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Frankly Speaking. I'm your host, Larry Frank, and we talked earlier about how the Tennessee Titans needed offensive line help. They needed someone who can overpower, who can pass block, protect Tannehill, so that when he does get those opportunities to throw the ball, he has enough protection. And we also need somebody that can rush block for the great Derrick Henry. Well, to give us more information, a gentleman that has got in the opportunity to watch Nicholas Petit-Frere the last couple of years, let's welcome in Ohio State insider at Buckeyes Scoop. Let's welcome in Alex Gleitman. Alex, how you doing today, buddy?
Hey, Larry, I'm great. How are you?
Hey, buddy, I'm good. Thank you so very, very much for joining us today on Frankly Speaking Sports. I want to start right out, Alex, with, all throughout this draft, it was definitely offensive line heavy. I don't think there's any question about that. Probably more than any other position was offensive tackles, offensive linemen. You heard about Evan Neal. You heard about Ike Ekwonu, maybe Cross as well. When you looked at Nicholas Petit-Frere, somebody that you've gotten to watch the last couple of years, how would you put him in comparison to those first-round draft picks?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think there's a reason those guys were selected in the first round, and Nick, dropped to the early third round, which is kind of where I saw him going. I thought maybe he'd sneak into the late second round. I think he's first off, he's played right tackle. He hasn't played left tackle. So when you talk about those value positions, obviously Evan Neal, I think is the right tackle for the Giants. So he's a little bit different, but he's as sure thing as they come. I think whether you inserted him at guard or tackle, I think he could even play on the left side. But Nick, while he has the athleticism to play on the left side, he's really primarily played on the right side at Ohio State. So that's a little bit of, knocks him a notch down when you look at him in the NFL scouts' eyes. And can he play the left side? Maybe. Will it be a learning curve? Absolutely. And I think he's got a little bit of a learning curve when it comes to playing NFL right tackle already. So I don't think you want to mess with that. I think you want to keep him on the right side. That probably affected his draft stock a little bit. And then when you look at his film and his production, I think, he's a really good player, but I don't think he's a guy who's really hit his ceiling yet. I think that's the great thing for the Tennessee Titans. He's got tremendous upside. He scratched the surface, but he really hasn't hit that ceiling yet. And I think when you look at guys in the first round, you want to look at a little bit more of a finished product. And so for those reasons, I'd say he's a little, it makes sense why he was picked a little bit behind those guys. But I think push comes to shove when you look at this draft in 5-6 years down the line. I mean, you could be looking at Nick Petit-Frere as a rock solid cornerstone of that offensive line for many years to come. And you might look back and say, that guy was worth a late first round pick. So I'm curious to see how he develops and grows in that Tennessee Titans offense and with Mike Vrabel there. And I think they got a really great value pick at number 69 overall.
You look at his size. He's 6'5", the latest numbers, 310 pounds. And they still say, I don't know how they say this, but he still has room for growth. So, that kind of scares me when they say he can still get bigger. How is a big guy like this able to move as fast as he does? Or maybe a better word is, how is he able to cover the ground that he covers?
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of an athletic freak for his size. He was a 5-star recruit, a top 10 overall recruit coming out of high school in Berkeley Prep in the Tampa area. And there was a reason for that. I mean, he was definitely, you knew he had to add weight to the frame. And as you kind of mentioned, he still has to add weight to that frame, I think, and get stronger, get a little bit tougher. But as far as when you look at a guy's feet, ever since he was coming out of high school, the way he moves and how light he is on his feet for a guy his size, even when he's added the weight at Ohio State, it's just really impressive. And I think that's what made him so attractive as an NFL prospect, is that athleticism. You talk about the speed rushers in the NFL that he's going to be going against, especially in the AFC. And, you're going to need that athleticism on the outside to make sure that, you could get off the ball quickly and keep that guy outside of the pocket.
One of the things the Tennessee Titans needed to improve on, Alex, was pass protection. Last year, Tannehill was either sacked 47 or 48 times, was under duress even more. This is a young man in Frere that has the ability, I've watched him some, to steal passes out of the way, and he seems to use his hands pretty well.
Yeah, he's definitely a guy. He's a really, really smart player, first of all. I mean, this kid is he was top of his high school class. He was, all academic. The academics are off the chart at Ohio State too, graduated. He's a really smart kid off the field as well as on the field. And when you talk about being a student of the game and the fundamentals, I mean, there's no doubt that that's an area he's going to excel. Fundamentally, he's very sound. And to go with that athleticism is definitely a rare combination. So for me, I think, the areas he needs to improve are getting stronger. And I would say getting a little bit tougher, playing with a little bit more of that nasty streak. And when you play for Mike Vrabel, hopefully some of that rubs off on you. Mike's an Ohio State guy. I'm sure he's talking to Ryan Day and talking to other guys he knows there about Nick. And that, that's one of the reasons they went in and got him. But they probably know where his deficiencies are too, and where they need to kind of push him a little bit. And I'd say playing with a little bit more nasty in his game and getting stronger are the two things that I think he needs to do to excel at the next level. But when you talk about keeping Ryan Tannehill clean, I mean, the athleticism, the fundamentals, and the intelligence, being able to know what the defense is going to do, and the stunts, the twists, and all that, and being able to adjust to that, I don't think that that's going to be a problem for him.
Everybody knows obviously about CJ Stroud and what he did last year, what he might do this year, obviously. And you had an unbelievable running game as well. A lot of people, overlooked that because of Stroud. I believe Henderson rushed for over 1,200 yards, if I'm correct, last year. How much of an impact did Frere have on that running game?
Yeah, I mean, he was good. There's no doubt he was good. I think Ohio State did have some trouble in 3rd and shorts and 4th and shorts. And I think that was probably more an issue with the interior of the line versus the guys on the edge. So I personally think that, I know he was on the left side this year. Actually, he did a pretty good job. They bumped Thayer Munford inside, and on the other side they had Paris Johnson, who's going to play left tackle this year, playing right guard. And I think part of the issue for Ohio State was they had tackles playing guard, and I think for the run game, in pass pro it was great, but I think for the run game it was not something that was very productive in that short yardage situation. So I didn't really see much of a problem with Nick. He struggled a little bit at the end of the year. I think he was dealing with a lingering injury, but throughout most of the year, he was pretty good in the run blocking situation. So I think, especially when you got Derrick Henry behind you, he always makes you look good. He'll find the hole. He'll beat some guys. He'll break some tackles. But I don't think that that's going to be an issue for him.
Let me ask you this, Alex. He's a third-round pick, number 69. Knowing what you know about him, watching him play, I know you mentioned he needs to get a little tougher, which in the NFL you better get tougher because you know what'll happen to you if you don't. But does this young man have the ability to start in the NFL?
Yeah, absolutely. And I made a mistake before. I mentioned he only played the right side. He did play the left side this year, but before that, he primarily was on the right side.
Right.
They made the switch late this year and decided to move Munford, who started at left tackle previously, inside to left guard, and move Nick out to the left side. That was a decision made kind of later in the summer and right before fall camp. So, I still think he's a right tackle in the NFL. But I think he's a starter in the NFL for sure. Year one, I don't know. I know that's what you expect these days from a third-round pick, to be able to come in and, join that lineup right away. I think he can battle and compete for a position this year. But I think, year two and beyond, as I said, I think you might be looking at this guy 5, 6, 7, maybe even 10, 12 years as a guy who's maybe never like a Pro Bowler or a multi-year Pro Bowler or an All-Pro or Hall of Famer or anything like that. But I think you might look back. I think you're going to look back on him in 10, 15 years and say, this guy is a rock solid, no doubt about it, starter on a good team in the National Football League.
You do a lot of different things in the NFL. It's a lot more complicated, as you know, than college football. Although Frere did play at a big-time school like Ohio State. You mentioned earlier about his learning and stuff. Do you think that he'll be able to adapt quickly to all the different types of stunts and maneuvers some of these defensive linemen do? Do you think his intellect and his IQ, football IQ, is smart enough to figure that out?
Yeah, absolutely. I no concerns for me about that stuff. That part is a no doubt about it. I just think, again, is he going to be strong enough? Is he going to, play with a little bit more nasty in his game? And I think those are the things he needs to do. I think the fundamentals, the footwork, the intelligence, I have zero doubts that he'll make that adjustment. Again, there might be a year to get adjusted to even at Ohio State, you play the best of the best in practice and in games, but there's still an adjustment from the speed and the level of competition in the NFL. So maybe it takes a year for him to kind of, get under his belt. But I think long-term, I don't think the Titans will have any concerns on that front.
We're talking to Alex Gleitman, Ohio State insider at Buckeye Scoop. Alex, there's so much made of, and I'm not a big fan of this, and I'd love to get your opinion on, after the season is over, and these guys, obviously, they know who's going into the NFL draft, who declared themselves. A lot of them go to the combine, and they start judging people on, you hear about arm length and wingspan and hand span and vertical jump and broad jump and so on and so on. How much of that is, when you're analyzing an offensive lineman or any position thereof, how important is that? Or is that just more, for the heck of it? Because to me, I don't care how big, how small, how far you can reach, whatever. I just want to care about, can you play football or can't you play football?
Yeah, I think ultimately it always comes down to that. But when you're evaluating these guys that all can play football at the highest level under the NFL in college football, and especially big time college football. I think there has to be a way to differentiate them and try to project, do they have room for growth? How does their game translate to the next level? And I don't think all the things at the combine, like I think a 40-yard dash for a lineman is really silly. I know a lot, they look at the splits a lot and the 10-yard split and things like that. But I think the 40-yard dash is silly to look at that number. I think there's some other things that are a little silly, but I don't think, when you look at a guy, especially like Nick, who's super athletic, and being able to see how athletic he is versus the other linemen and things along those lines. I mean, it just helps you evaluate it, and it helps you understand how he's going to be able to translate that game to the next level. So, that's one part of it. And then the measurables, I agree. Like, you turn on the film, if you could play football, you could play football, but the reach, obviously, important, the size, important. You want to be able to have those things translate to the guys that have had success doing it in the league. And there's a reason why, long arms and certain, height and weight and things along those lines are measured, because, you look at the best defensive linemen and defensive ends in the NFL, and the guys who have had success stopping them, all have certain things in common when it comes to measurables and athleticism and things along those lines.
I'm going to jump from talking about Nicholas Petit-Frere to a little bit before I let you run about Ohio State. Camp's going to be opening up here, in 30 days, 45 days? I don't know the exact data in the back of my head, but what is the outlook for the 2022 Ohio State Buckeyes football team?
Yeah, I mean, it seems silly saying this because it almost feels like, that's the expectation every year in Columbus, but I think it's championship or bust. And I as a realistic person who analyzes the team, I think that's not the case every year. Last year went in, and I don't think it was championship or bust. I think the expectation was still to win the Big Ten and go to the college football playoff, even breaking in a first-year quarterback and questions about the defense and things along those lines. But for me, when you bring back what they're bringing back on offense with C.J. Stroud, who was a Heisman finalist last year and a Heisman favorite this year, potentially number 1 overall pick in the draft. You got Travion Henderson, a superstar freshman last year, entering his second year. Jackson Smith-Njigba, who, was arguably the best receiver on a team that had 2 first-round picks at receiver go in this year's draft, and Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. He returns along with 5-star studs that Brian Hartline's filled that room with. And I know they lost Nick, they lost Thayer Munford on the offensive line, but they feel pretty good about the guys that are replacing them. With the offense they have, forget about the defense for a second. I think that's going to be the expectation regardless. But then you talk about the defense, which with a halfway decent defense last year, they probably walk into the playoffs. They bring in Jim Knowles from Oklahoma State, completely revamped the defense. He's gotten full autonomy there, simplified things, letting guys play faster, not think as much, and just play with their instincts. These 4- and 5-star studs that they've recruited over the years, changed the system up a little bit, brought in a few guys from the transfer portal, brought in a really good freshman class, and developed the guys that they already had. And I think there's optimism for the defense. They don't have to be the, Georgia defense of last year. Right. If they're a top 25 defense in the country, which is, they should be more than capable with the talent they have on their roster, there's no reason that they shouldn't be playing, in my opinion, probably Alabama in the national championship come January 9th.
Yeah, all last year you heard about Bryce Young, and don't get me wrong, we heard about C.J. Stroud too, but it seemed like he was always on the back burner when it came to Bryce Young. You get to watch, the luxury of watching this kid play C.J. Stroud every week. How good is C.J. Stroud?
I think he's awesome. He took a little bit he was hurt a little bit in the beginning of the year. He took a little bit, I think, of he had some learnings throughout the first half of the season, being the first-year quarterback, second year overall. And the 2020 year was kind of weird with COVID and everything like that, not really having the full off season to prepare. So it took him a little bit, but you saw what he did toward the end of the year. Michigan State, Michigan, in the Rose Bowl against Utah. This kid, what he was lacking was confidence, and he got that confidence as the year went on. And you add that with his amazing raw skill set and the development he's had over the offseason. I just, knock on wood, he doesn't get hurt. again, everything from Heisman, Big Ten championship, national championship, and potentially being the first number 1 overall pick in next year's draft, to me, are all on the table for him.
And you're going to look from this year to next year. This year, you had a quarterback class where one quarterback went in the first round, and then basically none of them went until the third round. Next year is going to be a little bit different, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you saw, and I got to give the GMs in the NFL a ton of respect, because I really thought that they would reach for some of these guys in this year's draft and take some of them early. But, really, Pickett was the only quarterback in the first round, and I thought everyone else was patient and took guys where they should have been taken. I thought Malik Willis, that was a great pick by the Titans. He should have went earlier than he went, I think. But, other than that, I was surprised that GMs waited that long. But next year, I don't think that's going to be the case. Stroud, Bryce Young. I mean, they're already talking up Will Levis and Van Dyke at Miami. And there's a few others they're talking there could be 5, 6, maybe even 7 first-round quarterbacks next year. So it's going to be really interesting to see, what happens next year. But look, if you look back at this point last year and who was projected to be, number 1 picks and things like that, I mean, it's completely different. So it's hard to sit here on, May 11, 2022 and figure out what's going to happen in April 2023. There's a lot of football to be played, a lot of film to be studied. But I think there's no doubt it's a much better quarterback class next year.
Who did you think, in your opinion, you got to watch most of them, who did you think in this draft that just passed, in your opinion, was the best quarterback to go first?
Oh, man. Honestly, I don't know if any of them were.
Right. No, a lot of people don't.
Yeah, I just, I like Willis. I'm a little biased to Kenny Pickett. I covered him from when he was like a sophomore in high school over here in Jersey. And, I don't know, though. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I think probably Pickett or Willis. I wasn't sold on Desmond Ridder. I like Matt Corral, but from an NFL perspective, I just don't know there. I think it was one of those two guys. So as I said, if Pickett was picked in the first round, number 20 overall, if the Titans got, in my opinion, at worst, the second best quarterback in this draft in the third round, middle of the third round, incredible value, just incredible value.
Last question. I'm going to let you run, Alex. Something happened. Speaking of Pittsburgh, the big NIL story that came out of there. And I'd love to get your opinion, because you've been following Ohio State, covering them for a while now. The NIL, to me, and I believe that players deserve to make some money. You're not going to hear me ever say something different, but I think it's getting out of hand right now. And when you see schools actually, to me, it looks like schools are buying players. That's basically what happened out there. What are your thoughts from, you cover a big-time school like Ohio State that has the ability to do exactly what happened at Pitt? I mean, does there need to be boundaries and guidances that say, no, we can't be buying players and offering them money from the school in order to get them to come to our school?
No, I mean, look, that wasn't the intent of NIL. It really wasn't. And, right. They got to figure it out and figure out a way to crack down. I know they just came out with a ruling this week about punishing the boosters that are basically trying to buy the guys like Jordan Addison and things like that. The intent was to be able to allow players to profit off their name, image, and likeness. It wasn't to create free agency in college football. And, a kid going to the mall and signing autographs for fans who are willing to pay for that is completely different than a booster going to a kid and saying, we want to pay you $3 million to come play for our school. So I don't know what the solution is. That's, guys way above my pay grade have to figure that out.
Alex, is that any different than what they're doing about, you just said, boosters paying people?
No, that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing.
Is it any different than what Adidas did to pay players?
No, but that wasn't right either. And right. That wasn't legal either. That wasn't legal per the rules. And all those guys got busted and put in jail and lost their jobs. The coaches that helped facilitate those things. So, they got to figure it out. The intent was not to use it as a tool in the sense of paying kids to come to your school. it was used, as a recruiting tool. It was like, what's your program to help the players maximize their profit and build their brand and the revenue and profit they could create while they come to your campus. But it wasn't, hey, Nick Petit-Frere, let me pay you $4 million to come play at Ohio State for the next 3 to 4 years. So they got to figure that out, and they got to do it quick.
All right, Alex. Well, listen, buddy, I want to thank you so very, very much taking time out of your hectic schedule to join us here on Frankly Speaking Sports.
Yeah, thanks, Frank. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
All right, stay safe. All right, that was Alex Gleitman, Ohio State insider at Buckeye Scoop. We're going to go ahead and take a break, folks. When we come back, we're going to talk Nashville Predators. What's next? We're also going to talk Carolina Hurricanes. They're playing the big, bad Boston Bruins. And guess what? They're winning this series so far, 3-2. That and much more when we return here on Frankly Speaking Sports.
Did you know that tattooing dates back to the Stone Age? Did you know that tattoos were once a symbol of high society? Did you know that Theodore Roosevelt had a tattoo? Did you know that 13 Daggers has been serving the area for nearly a decade? Whether you want bright, vibrant colors or depth built from black and gray, let 13 Daggers create a custom piece of art just for you. Schedule your appointment and come get pricked by the pros. 13 Daggers Tattoo Studio, across from Patriot Park on Fort Campbell Boulevard. Walk-ins always welcome. 13 Daggers Tattoo Studio. Working hard on the Boulevard.
Here at Tobacco Road Sports Radio, we ask the tough questions.
Hey, you got any left-handed footballs?
We're never afraid to tell you how we feel.
Come on, we look like the damn bad news bears.
We'll debate sports. We'll debate anything.
Man, you lying. You ain't never met Martin Luther King. Not the way out of me. Yes, he did. No, he didn't. Yes, he did. No, he did not.
No matter what, Tobacco Road Sports Radio has you covered.
I'm gonna come right back at him. Soldier.
You're listening to Tobacco Road Sports Radio.
The Hometown Foundation is excited to bring back the Dream Ride experience, August 26th to the 28th at Connecticut's Farmington Polo Club. Join us in celebrating the accomplishments of our Dream Riders while enjoying live music, a car and motorcycle show, family fun zone, pet adoptions, canine demonstrations, the Fireman's Chili Cook-Off, and much, much more. Get your tickets today.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Frankly Speaking Sports. I'm your host, Larry Frank, and I'll tell you what, folks, I said it earlier, and I'm not the I told you so type of person, but I said it earlier before the playoffs started, and people ask me, what two teams do you think are going to be able to play in the finals? And I told people, I do not think the Tampa Bay Lightning, which we'll get into in a minute, will win the Stanley Cup again. I also didn't believe the Florida Panthers would win the Stanley Cup. And people say, well, how can you say that? They're the President's Cup champions, the best record in the NHL. Well, that's why I said it, because that usually does not happen when a team wins the President's Cup. But the two teams that I picked was first Colorado Avalanche, which just defeated the Nashville Predators and swept them 4-0. Unbelievable team there. Just unbelievable team that they have there with those two unbelievable goal scorers. And I said the Carolina Hurricanes. People said, the Carolina Hurricanes? I said, yes, the Carolina Hurricanes. When you look at the Carolina Hurricanes, folks, you'll take a team is consistency among every single player. When you want to describe the word team, there is no better definition or example in the NHL than the Carolina Hurricanes. Everybody on that team, when you look at this team, let me see if I have it, throughout the year, you have Sebastian Aho had 81 points, Svechnikov, 69 points, Teravainen, 65 points. You got Trocheck and D'Angelo, 51 points. Everybody contributes on this team. 37 goals by Aho. Schmechtergoff, 30 goals. Niederreiter, 24 goals. Stahl, 17 goals. Fast, 14 goals. They got Slavin here, who I love to death. Jarvis here. They have just an incredible team, and nothing was more evident than last night's game. They're playing the Boston Bruins. The Hurricanes, the Boston Bruins last night, 5-1. 5-1 to go up 3-2 in I think it's 3-2. Yeah, 3-2 in that series. And when you look at this game, they controlled this game from the get-go. Antti Raanta had 33 saves in the game, and he's to be unbelievable to have this guy when you have Frederik Andersen, who went out before the series with an injury, hasn't been able to play. But Raanta has been fluid in net and doing a great job. Seth Jarvis had 2 goals yesterday. Tony DeAngelo, a goal and assist. It started off like this, folks. 6-11 in the first period. Jacob Slavin with his second goal. It was assisted by D'Angelo and Aho. And then 6 minutes later, at 12:17 of the first period, Tony DeAngelo, the power play. That's right, the power play. They made 2 of 5 power plays last night. It was 2-0 at the end of first. Second period, it was just Carolina. 15:52 into the second period. Seth Jarvis scored his first goal of the game. It was assisted by who? Aho! That's right. Aho and Taranovin each had the assist. Then in the third period, 3:31 in, Seth Jarvis scores his second goal of the game. That was the second power play by Carolina. After a goal by Clifton of Boston, 16:20 left in the game. They're down by 3. Boston Bruins pull their goalie, and Trocheck gets his third of the playoff. Final score, 5-1. Carolina leads that series 3-2. Meanwhile, Toronto comes back after that devastating loss in Tampa Bay. They come back and they defeat the Lightning 4-2. Lightning was up in this game 2-0 after the first period. They were outscored 3-1 in the third. William Nylander had a goal and 2 assists. Tavares had a goal, and Austin Matthews also had a goal for Toronto, who now leads that series 3-2. Meanwhile, out west, the Wild and the Blues. Blues are now up 2. They win 5-2. That's right. How about Vladimir Tarasenko? 3 goals in the game. Meanwhile, Jordan Binnington for St. Louis had 30 saves in net. Great game by them. The Wild was 2 for 2 on the power plays despite losing the game, and the Blues were 1 for 2 on the power play. The Kings now lead this series. The Blues now lead this series 3-2. Then it was LA again overtime. Defeats the Oilers by the score of 5-4. It was 1:12 into overtime when Adrian Kemp got his second goal of the playoffs to give the Kings the lead. 2 goals and an assist. Meanwhile, Connor McDavid of Edmonton had a goal and 2 assists in this game. As far as tonight goes, folks, let's get you updated. It's the Rangers with 16 seconds left in this game. Turn it on, baby. 16 seconds left. Rangers are leading 4-3. 4-3. Rangers are leading. The Rangers are right now out shooting the Penguins 34-31. It looks like Chris Kreider had a goal in the first. Jacob Trouba for the Rangers had a goal. Ryan Strome and then Ryan Lindgren. And as far as the Penguins, it was Peterson, Malkin, Guentzel, and Malkin again. I'm sorry, that was penalties. I don't know what I was reading there, folks. Let's try that again. Quencel had his 6th goal in the first period, and then Letang and Quencel got his 2nd goal in the second period. Meanwhile, the Rangers were down by 1. They scored 2 goals in the third period, and that game is just about over. We will try to keep you updated if we can with a final score. So that's that, folks. Let's take one more quick break, and when we come back, we're going to end the show talking about the Nashville Predators. We'll be back right after this message.
The Hometown Foundation is excited to bring back the Dream Ride experience, August 26th to the 28th at Connecticut's Farmington Polo Club. Join us in celebrating the accomplishments of our Dream Riders while enjoying live music, a car and motorcycle show, family fun zone, pet adoptions, canine demonstrations, the Fireman's Chili Cook-Off, and much, much more. Get your tickets today.
13 Daggers Tattoo Studio is looking for a new tattoo artist. Must be established with a strong portfolio and good work ethic. Stop by today at 13 Daggers across from Patriot Park on Fort Campbell Boulevard. Clarksville's ultimate tattoo studio. Tattoos, touch-ups, and consultations. See the artist's work online at 13daggerstattoo.com and get the custom experience you want with killer ink. Book today and get pricked by a pro. 13 Daggers Tattoo Studio. Rockin' hard on the boulevard.
We love sports.
Joe Louis, the greatest boxer ever lived.
Not only do we love sports, but we love to debate sports.
He was bad in Captain Clay. He bad in Sugar Ray. He bad in that. Who that's the new boy has? Mike Tyson look like a bulldog. He bad at him too. He done whipped Mike Tyson there. He whipped all their ass.
For the best sports analysis in the triad.
What about Rocky Marciano?
In-depth local coverage of your favorite schools and teams.
Let me tell you something once for all. Rocky Marciano was good. But compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't.
And of course, the best sports debate in the triad.
Beat Joe Lewis's ass.
Welcome to Tobacco Road Sports Radio.
Joe Louis was 75 years old when he fought.
You're welcome.
I don't know how old he was, but got it at him.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Frankly Speaking Sports. Want to remind everyone on the bottom of the screen, read the message. If you want to go ahead, you have a thought, an opinion, a question, a concern, we have a comment section. Leave it under the comment section, and we'll go ahead and we'll try to get it on the air as soon as possible. And what the topic you want us to discuss. Don't be shy. You don't have to be on Facebook. You can be on Twitter. You can be on LinkedIn. You can be on, any of these. If you have a comment section there, leave the comment. We'll go ahead and we'll put it on. Once again, I want to thank everybody on all our different platforms, from Facebook to Sports Wire Radio. That's right. Sportinarium.com. Listen to all the great shows on Sports Wire Radio. And let's not forget my good friends from Tobacco Road SportsRadio.com. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday Eastern Time, 10 p.m. Central and 8 p.m. Pacific. You can listen to Frankly Speaking Sports once again on Tobacco Road SportsRadio.com. Oh, folks, what a great day. Tomorrow night, we're going to have the NFL is going to release the time and dates of all the opponents that your team is playing. We already know the opponents, but now we get to find out, are we playing certain teams in the cold? Are we playing them in the warmth? We're playing them inside. We're playing them outside. All that good stuff will be revealed tomorrow at 8 p.m., and I'm sure some of that will get leaked out tomorrow as well. So looking forward to that. I believe training camps, rookie camps are opening up as well. So lots and lots of excitement. We get to see the rookies for the first time, find out what they're thinking, how they're looking, what they need to work on, what they already excelling at. It's just a fun time to be a sports fan. We got the NBA playoffs. The Grizzlies start trying to hold off elimination tonight against the Warriors. They'll have to do that without Ja Morant. That game is underway, and it'll be obviously on for the next couple hours, so you'll be able to watch that immediately following Frankly Speaking Sports. But the big news, we've talked about it the last couple of days, and we'll continue to talk about it, and I'll tell you why, is the Nashville Predators. What is David Poile going to do? First of all, are they going to keep David Poile as GM? We talked about this the last couple of nights. The other big question is John Hines going to remain the coach of the Nashville Predators? And the first thing you have to ask yourself, folks, it's real easy, and I said it. I think we need a new coach. Okay, I haven't been here as long as a lot of you, but for my small sample size of watching John Hines as a coach, he doesn't seem like he has the discipline and accountability to hold these players accountable for when they make mistakes and they do things over and over again that causes the team to lose hockey games. And if you can't control your team and you don't have accountability over your players, you're definitely not the right coach for this team. Now, saying that, I want everybody in the Nashville area that roots for the Predators to understand something. Before you go out and get a new coach, you got to find someone that is already better than what you already have. It's really easy to say John Hines needs to be replaced, but who are you going to replace him with? We talked about there are people better than him out there. Barry Trotz being one of them, who was surprisingly let go by the New York Islanders, is a much better, successful, and proven coach than John Hines is. That's number one. John Hines' thing was supposed to be developing young players, this and that. I haven't been here all these years, and some of these players have been here, but I don't see necessarily that happening at an unbelievable rate. Not that you don't have some players that have developed, but more than having players develop, you need to develop a team, a culture, an aura, so that this team can play together as a team and not as individuals. Number two, I don't know if this is going to happen, but I'll tell you what. This happens, you need to fire John Hines right away. They're talking about in Tampa Bay, here's a coach that has won 2 Stanley Cups in a row, and they're talking whether John Cooper would be let go if he loses Toronto in the first round. Are they crazy? Are they ludicrous? Are they stupid? Probably the best coach in the NHL over the past couple of years. I'll tell you what, if I'm David Poile, and they let John Cooper go, I follow John Hines immediately and hire John Cooper. No ifs, and or buts. You look at that team. Connor Ingram came from that team. Connor Ingram, our backup goaltender who played pretty well under the certain conditions in these playoffs, came from Tampa Bay Lightning. They are known for producing, developing players and a winning culture. John Cooper's let go. You go after him immediately. Otherwise, you should be, I don't even want to say it, okay? But, John Cooper would be great here in Nashville. You folks would love him. But I would find it hard to believe, I'd be more surprised than seeing Barry Trotz leaving the Islanders, James Borrego leaving the Hornets. This would be the biggest stunner if it was to happen. I personally don't see that happening. But, we talked about Barry Trotz. Trotz would definitely be a good fit. But the big question here is, first of all, if you have to communicate with the fans. And right now, the front office of Nashville is not doing an adequate job of letting the fans know what happened. Let them know either way. Just like the Carolina Panthers let their fans know that Matt Rule was staying. That's what the Panthers need to do. They need to come out and either say, he's our guy, he's going to be here next year, or say, it's time to make a change. But my honest belief here, folks, and I could be wrong, I'm not saying Ori's right, is they may be waiting out this first round of playoffs to see what happens to some of these coaches who do not get through the first round. There will be some changes. Not that I necessarily agree with it. You know, you look right now, you see Hines got to the first playoffs. You know, we're talking about him getting removed. There's going to be other coaches, other cities, other platforms that say this is just not good enough for us. Are the Nashville Predators waiting to see what happens before they make a decision with Boyle? They know Barry Trotz is out there, okay? They know him. He's been here before. But are they waiting to see if anyone better than maybe Barry Trotz comes available? You don't know. I don't know. But whenever they know for sure what they're going to do, they need to discuss it. They need to talk to the public. Let their fan base know what's going on. One way or another. The fan base doesn't have to agree. The fan base is not in charge of making those decisions. But at the end of the day, you know, it'd be nice for them to open up and at least let them know what direction they're going in. And, you know, you listen to Philip Forsberg today, and they ask him whether he's coming back. Well, you know, as much as he says all the right things. You know, I love to come back. I love this team. I think this team is in the right direction. The only thing I didn't like that Forsberg said is, we did better than people expected. Okay, I don't know. Maybe I was coached wrong growing up. Maybe I've been around some great coaches, whether it's Billy Martin in baseball, Don Shula in football, and so on and so, Pat Riley in basketball, okay, Doc Rivers in basketball, and so on and so on and so on. You know, and these coaches always had the expectation that they were gonna win. What coach starts the year at the beginning of the year and tells their guys, we're gonna suck. We're not gonna play well this year. We're gonna be bad this year. If you do that, you shouldn't have a job. Your expectation should be year in, year out, game by game by game, that you are going out there to win. And you believe in your heart every single game you play that you should win. If you don't think you have a good enough to compete, then that's a story where you need to sit down with your general manager and get your crap together. Because if you don't feel you have the right team, you need to open up and speak out and get the right team. But for somebody to say that we exceeded expectations when you don't even get out of the first round of the playoffs is ludicrous. It's ludicrous. And I love Forsberg. Please. He's a great talent, a great hockey player. But at the end of the day, how low is your goal? How low is your goal? Is your goal to win 20 games? Hey, we won last year. Let's go ahead and win 20 this year, and we'll exceed expectations. Or do you go what people say? All these rankings said we shouldn't have been here. We should have been down lower. Those are expectations made by people that don't play the game. They don't play the game. At the end of the day, your expectation should be to win. If you don't go out there believing that you could win every game that's out there, you should not be playing the sport you're playing. Now, you may get beat, and that's fine, but you have to believe in yourself when you take that ice. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of all of us here on Frankly Speaking Sports, we want to thank you very, very much for tuning in this entire week. A reminder that we're going to have some great, great shows coming up next week right here on all of our same platforms. On behalf of all of us here at Frankly Speaking Sports, we want to thank you so very, very much. Once again, all the Predators group, Hurricane groups, Ohio State fans tonight, Tennessee Titan fans, all the groups, thank you so very, very much for continuing to make our show, and I stress our show, a continued success as we keep growing, and even growing more. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central and 6 Pacific. Good